All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Everything is connected, and we're talking about seemingly the most controversial subject on the planet. How y'all feeling? Good to see you in the chat. So we're live on YouTube. Rockfinners, hello, hello, how are you? And we're live on Callin. And we'll get into it. I'm going to probably end the show like 5 minutes early or so. Maybe 5 or 10 minutes early. I have somewhere to be right after the show, but I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Also, the best possible ways to support the show are paypal.me/Kevin Sandblum, Venmo at Kevin Sandblum, Cash App at Red Llama Music, buymeacoffee.com/BlackBearNews, and I appreciate all the supporters. Also, of course, super chats, super rays, and all that kind of good stuff. Is it a Saturday? Is it still Saturday where you are, Contemplative Prague? All right. Or you just experience one long Saturday all weekend long? You had me confused there because I often don't know what day it is. So don't get me started. Okay? Let's see. All right, waiting for my computer to do things and to do things. What's up, Victory Jen? I appreciate that greeting. And Osama, yes, absolutely, for sure, man, for sure. It's okay. It's okay. I'm often confused about what day it is. Oh, let's look at some video footage. Of Greece. How often will people flee the hellscapes like Greece before the penny drops that this is a climate emergency? This is not just a minor local incident that disrupted a one-off holiday. The situation will only escalate unless significant mitigation is taken. Which is true. What that mitigation might be, I don't know. There's a lot of confusion about that. There's a lot of debates about that. It would be awesome. It'd be awesome if we could have those debates in a clear, non-fossil fuel influenced way. Be cool if we could have clear, data-driven conversations about what's going on, about, what's happening and what it is that we could possibly do about it. I'd appreciate those conversations. It's hard to have those conversations because, people are still confused about whether 2 + 2 = 4 or not. I don't know. So it gets difficult. It gets difficult to have the conversation if people are confused about the basics. You can't get into the deeper, complicated discussion if people are confused about the basics. You know what I'm saying? Oh, look at this. More coral bleaching. Maybe maybe some alternative journalist out there will cover this story. Oh, that's me. Hi. On July 20th, CRF teams visited Sombrero Reef, a restoration site we've been working at for over a decade. What we found was unimaginable 100% coral mortality. We have also lost almost all the corals in the Lou Key, or Lowy Key, or Louis Key, I don't know, nursery in the lower Keys. Historic heat wave triggering coral die-off in Florida. Excuse me. Potential loss of coral populations within the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary is quickly becoming an alarming reality. They're just going to quote the exact same thing I just said. We are now rescuing as many corals as we can from our nurseries and relocating key genotypes to land-based holding systems. Yeah. Some mitigation for you. Land-based holding system safeguarding our brood stock, potentially the last lifeline left many of these corals. Situation underscores the urgency of addressing climate change. Mitigating climate change is potentially devastating effects is a necessity if we are to preserve critical ecosystems like the coral reefs of the Florida Keys. Yeah. So it's oh, sorry, you can't see that. So, yeah, it'd be so awesome if somebody could actually, give factual data around this stuff about what's happening. There's more corals than like ever. Really? Yeah. Oh. All right, that's happening. Breaking workers at McDonald's in L.A. You want to talk about jobs, G. Demarest? Well, let's talk about jobs. These people don't want to do their jobs or can't do their jobs or would like to do their jobs in better conditions. It's damn hot in L.A. Workers at McDonald's in LA have walked off the job on strike due to inside heat of nearly 100 degrees. Workers at the store helped launch a strike wave that spread to over 350 stores statewide in 2020 through 2022. We're reminding our bosses who has the power. But it's hard to work in those conditions, right? That's true. It's true. That's all. That's also. It's funny. Don't be mean, Andre. Andre said, "Looks like they've been eating a lot of Big Macs." It kind of does. But that's those are bad conditions to be working in. And we were talking about workers expiring due to heat, and how that will be on the rise as time goes forward. All right, this is the story that actually should have people, it should raise an eyebrow at least, or three. But India has banned rice exports of, to clarify, non-basmati rice, non-basmati white rice, which is what a lot of people eat around the world. Why Indian rice exports? Oh, dang it. Indian rice export ban is so important to global trade. I'm going to have to look for this elsewhere. How about India Times? India has prohibited the export of non-basmati white rice. God dang it. With immediate effect, according to a government notice on Thursday, after a late start to seasonal monsoon rains hurt the crop and raised fears of production shortfall. Here are some facts explaining why India is crucial to the global rice trade. India accounts for more than 40% of world rice exports. Which amounted to 55.4 million metric tons in 2022. India's rice shipments reached a record 22.2 million tons in 2022, more than the combined shipments of the world's next four biggest exporters of grain: Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan, and the United States. India exports rice to more than 140 countries. Key buyers of Indian non-basmati rice include Benin, Bangladesh, Angola, Cameroon, Djibouti, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Kenya, and Nepal. Anyways. But it seems like this is the biggest, their biggest export in the rice category. Anyways, the late arrival of the monsoon led to a large rain deficit up to mid-June. And while heavy rains since the last week of June have erased the shortfall, they have caused significant damages to crops. So this is climate change-induced crop failure. First, the rains didn't come. Then when they came, it was too much and destroyed the output. So if you want an example of what could happen, well, right now, it's happening right now, but what could happen in the near future as well. And here's some footage of people panic buying rice in Dallas. I don't know what this means. It's from yesterday, but I guess these people are really concerned about a rice shortage. I don't know. I haven't. This was just announced, a few days ago, so I haven't really been out to buy rice myself, so I don't know how I don't know how it's going here in my neighborhood. But it looks like people are scrambling to buy like all the rice they can. I don't know. But these are people like buying cartfuls of rice, big old bagfuls of rice. I guess it's the thing these days, like for people to go crazy and go to the store and buy everything in sight as soon as something is announced. And I mean, I guess a lot of people would say, well, wouldn't you do that too? I don't know. It always, that kind of activity always feels like a prologue to something much worse. All right. I don't know. Has anybody else seen some, rice shortages anywhere where you are at? Has anybody noticed? Does anybody pay attention to those things? I like rice. I eat rice. So I would notice if there was rice shortages. But will this have like, some more long-term effects? I don't know. It is concerning. And we've had things like this happen in the last few years, right? Like there were some crops in like Spain and southern Europe that were, blown out by a bunch of storms a few years ago. And the people of like England, UK, and other countries were depending on these imports from these particular countries, and because all the crops got wiped out, they are suddenly didn't have particular vegetables that they were used to getting in the store. But if it's just a specific, time specific or area specific problem, probably not something that people are like super worried about. But I don't know. One day everybody's stockpiling toilet paper and and then everything else, and then suddenly you can't buy food because everything's gone. So whenever I do see that, it does make me slightly nervous. Um, in the northeastern Salish Sea, off of Vancouver Island, temperatures are boiling kelp alive. You heard that? Let's check out this story about kelp being boiled alive. What the heck? Northeastern Salish Sea temperatures boiling kelp alive. The waters are so warm off northeastern Vancouver Island, researchers say kelp is being boiled alive. Temperatures have been reaching 21 degrees or higher. It basically felt like bathwater, said UVIC kelp researcher and National Geographic explorer Brian Timmer. Temperatures in the northeastern Salish Sea have been reaching 21 degrees or higher, 2 or 3 degrees higher than kelp can take. It kind of boils the kelp alive and it dies, said Timmer. Since the 1970s, rising ocean temperatures have led to entire kelp forests on the east side of Vancouver Island, from Denman Island to Campbell River, essentially being clear cut. Well, there's a news story somebody could cover if they had the mind to. The Blob, y'all remember The Blob? In 2014 was kind of the final straw, said Timmer. There used to be kilometers long kelp forests in that area that are now gone. Many scientists many scientists call kelp the canary in a coal mine, acting as a warning of what else is to come in British Columbia. And it's not just kelp that will be affected. The rising sea temperatures will cause changes in the whole ecosystem and complete changes to our coastline. In terms of plants and animals, there are going to be winners and losers, said Chris Harley, a marine biologist with UBC. If you're a fisherman, you're going to be catching more tuna. Oysters did really well in the recent heat dome, so we're starting to see the system shift away from mussels to oysters, and we don't know what the consequences of that will be. Weather patterns, seasons, or El Nino or La Nina years aside, scientists say British Columbia's surface sea temperatures are increasing 1 degree a century. We now know the deep is heating up too. The BC coastal ocean will be warmer, not just at the surface, but it turns out just El Nino years, it actually gets warmer on the bottom of the Strait of Georgia, said Charles Hanna, a research scientist in physical oceanography with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. With El Ninos only getting hotter, Hanna thinks of the heat as stored energy that's able to provide more power to marine heat waves. The warmer it gets, the more extreme events you get, and that's what I'm worried about, said Hanna. Hanna says, the increase in extreme events is just another symptom of ecosystem change as we move into a warmer world. This is going to be the warmest summer of your life so far, and probably the coolest of the rest of your life. Jesus, wow. Sounding kind of doomerish there, Charles Hanna. That was like a Fenrir post on Twitter. I didn't expect that right at the end of the article. He's just like, mwah. That was fairly doomish. My God. Snuck that one in there, did you? This is going to be the warmest summer of your life so far and probably the coolest of the rest of your life. Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and there are so many real life accounts of the ecosystems, the ocean ecosystems changing. We were just talking about the birds, all the birds dying in Mexico, not because of avian flu. Give me 1 second, guys. Not because of avian flu. But because of hot water forcing the fish that they usually feed on to go elsewhere. And dang, sorry, having a hard time talking today. I was, they have those shows on like the History Channel where they have like fishing boats out there competing for fish. And a few years ago, I was just like randomly watching one of those shows, and they were saying that they were having a hard time finding the fish because the waters were too warm for the fish that they usually caught, and for the areas where they were at, where they usually expected to find the fish. The waters were too warm. I don't know what that's called. Somebody help me out. You know when the planet gets warmer and things get all crazy? I don't know. Feel like there's a word for that. Or term. I don't know. It seems to escape me though. You know the planet gets warmer and holds more water vapor in the air, and then like all these crazy, insane rain bombs happen, and like hurricanes and typhoons and like, I don't know, what is that called? I can't remember. Oh, so anthropogenic environmental destruction. Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding. That's it. We have a winner. World's biggest permafrost crater in Russia's Far East thaws as planet warms. Global warming also would work. Schultze 100 for another winner. Global warming. I don't know, but that Al Gore guy was talking about it. That means it's false. Stunning drone footage has revealed details of the Batagaika crater. I'll say that again. Batagaika crater, a 1 kilometer long gash in Russia's Far East that forms the world's biggest permafrost crater. I don't know. Permafrost, the thing that's permafrost, is called permafrost because it stays permanently frozen. It's melting. I don't know. What would cause that? Let me think about that. Huh. I'm going to have to consider that for a while. I don't know, just, weather, natural cycles and stuff. I don't know. The sun? I'm not sure. I'm confused. In the video, two explorers clamber across uneven terrain at the base of the depression, marked by irregular surfaces and small hummocks, which began to form after the surrounding forest was cleared in the 1960s and the permafrost underground began to melt, causing the land to sink. We locals call it the cave-in. Local resident and crater explorer Errol Strukov told Reuters as he stood on the crater's rim. It developed in the 1970s, first as a ravine. Then, by thawing in the heat of sunny days, it started to expand. Scientists say Russia is warming at least 2.5 times faster than the rest of the world. It's actually a thing that's happening, and some people are like, they're leading us to believe that some places are warming faster than the rest of the earth. How can that possibly be? What? What are you talking about? I'm going to intentionally misunderstand this entire situation so that I can give you a particular narrative that I want to give you based on my dumbosity about trying to understand this, even though I'm perfectly capable of understanding everything else that I'm talking about. I can't understand this at all. Sorry. Just scratch that whole last couple of sentences. Just forget I said anything. Scientists say Russia is warming at least 2.5 times faster than the rest of the world, melting the long frozen tundra that covers about 65% of the country's landmass and releasing greenhouse gases stored in the thawed soil. That is something that is happening all over the planet, in Canada, in Russia, and all over the Arctic. There's also methane clathrates being released. Methane bubbling up out of the Arctic Ocean, etc., etc. The gateway to the underworld, some locals in Russia's Sakha Republic also call it. That's good. Gateway to the underworld. It has a scientific name, a mega slump. And while it may attract tourists, the slump's expansion is a sign of danger, said Nikita Tenanayev, lead researcher at the Melnikov Permafrost Institute at Yakutsk. In future, with increasing temperatures and with higher anthropogenic pressure, we will see more and more of these mega slumps. Y'all remember the giant craters, the insanely huge methane blowholes that they found in the same region in Yakutsk? Said Nikita Tenanayev. Anyways, in future, read that, we will see more of these mega slumps forming until all the permafrost is gone. Tenanayev told Reuters. Thawing permafrost or I don't know. We'll call it thaumatrost, has already threatened cities and towns across northern and northeastern Russia, buckling roadways, splitting apart houses, and disrupting pipelines. Fast wildfires, which have become more intense in recent seasons, exacerbate the problem. Locals in Sakha have taken note of the crater's rapid growth. 2 years ago, the edge was about 20 to 30 meters away from the path, and now apparently it is much closer, Strukov said. Scientists aren't sure of the exact rate at which the Badagaika crater is expanding. But Tenanayev says the soil beneath the slump, which is about 100 meters deep, 328 feet in some areas, contains an enormous quantity of organic carbon that will release into the atmosphere as the permafrost thaws, further fueling the planet's warming. You see, it's kind of like a cycle, right? You know, the planet gets a little warmer, and then things happen that actually contribute to the warming, and then it gets warmer, and then more things happen that contribute to the warming, and then it gets warmer. I still don't know can't quite put it all together. I'm still not understanding what's going on. Andre, you got a lot of good jokes today. That's pretty good. That's funny. The married one, that's funny. Anyways, this will lead to more and more climate warming in the following years. With an increasing air temperature, we can expect the crater will be expanding at a higher rate. This will lead to more climate warming in the following years. There you go. That's how it goes. What is that? Oh, feedback loop. That's the term I was looking for. Feedback loop. Yeah, but it's cool. The Club of Rome and the Rockefellers and all these elite, all these Rhodes scholars, they all, they made this all up just to enslave us. So don't worry about it. It's all fake, anyways. Hashtag climate scam. Yeah. I really want to read this, but I can't read this. Is there another place I could read this? I don't know. Maybe I won't read it. Maybe I'll read it tomorrow. Let's see. We did read that one. Didn't read that one. Okay. Do you know that Chicago built a deep tunnel flooding project that is not up to snuff when it comes to climate change? They built this whole thing to mitigate flooding, and it doesn't work. I'm sure they spent $5 billion. They didn't actually. Oh, 1.1. No, they $3.8 billion. And I'm sure it did not cost $3.8 billion. I'm positive it cost not even $1 billion to make that. And somebody's got greasy money. They got $2.5 billion of greasy money somewhere in a bank account. Pretty sure about that. Every time I hear these budgets and what things cost, I'm just like, no, nope, not even close. Costly deep tunnel flooding project can't handle Chicago area's storms. Hours before heavy rain swamped Chicago and Cook County suburbs on July 2nd, the region's $3.8 billion flood control project appeared ready as can be to bottle up storm runoff. The deep tunnel's massive sewers, capable of holding 2.3 billion gallons, were almost empty, according to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District records. At the end of the tunnels, hundreds of feet below the Chicago River, Des Plaines River, and North Shore Channel, the McCook Reservoir, more than 20 times larger than Soldier Field, 20 times larger, was just 17% full of raw sewage and runoff being stored until it could be safely treated. But the first sign of trouble came before 8:30 a.m. when runoff mixed with human and industrial waste began pouring into the Des Plaines River, from an overflow pipe at 40th Street in southwest suburban Lyons. District records show. 2 hours later, the same thing happened at a pump station in north suburban Wilmette and another much larger facility off Lawrence Avenue in Chicago, where fetid gunk flowed into the north branch of the Chicago River for nearly a day. Waste and runoff would end up pouring out of 19 other overflow pipes across the county from Evanston to Westchester, many for hours at a time. When you have a slow-moving storm that's dumping a large amount of rainfall, it doesn't take much to cause problems, said Zachary Yak. I'm sorry. His name is Zachary Yak. Don't talk back. No. Why would you do that to your child? If your last name is Yak, is this even a real name? If your last name is Yak, do not name your kid Zach, okay? Don't do that. That's messed up. A National Weather Service meteorologist, I'm sorry, I can't help it, who noted that up to 8 inches of rain fell in the western suburbs during the day. That's a lot of water to contend with in a very short period of time. Sewage overflows are an indicator that basements are flooding, effectively turning scores of homes into mini stormwater reservoirs. What the heck? By 2:27 p.m., local sewers and the deep tunnel were so saturated that district officials turned to their outlets of last resort. First, they opened a sluice gate separating the North Shore Channel from Lake Michigan. And, oh, my God. Then they opened locks near Navy Pier, relieving pressure on the system by just letting all this stuff flow out in Lake Michigan. By allowing more than 1.1 billion gallons of murky, bacteria-laden waste to flow into the region's chief source of drinking. Jesus Christ. The region's chief source of drinking water. Suburban leaders fielding complaints about standing water and basement backups attempted to pin the blame on district officials for not opening the gate and locks earlier. I mean, you have this thing that costs, almost $4 billion. That is supposed to relieve flooding. And nope. Whoops. And that's pretty much how, when I hear people say mitigation, that's how it's going to go. That's pretty much how it's going to go. Mitigation is going to be like, throwing a sponge at a flood and going like, hope this works. I mean, that's seriously what we're facing with climate change. Mitigation is going to just be like, trying to put a Band-Aid on somebody who's just had their arm severed off. It's just not going to work. It's just going to be not nearly enough. That is, whenever I hear the word mitigation, I'm just like, yeah, that's great. How much is it going to cost, this mitigation effort? You do better just throwing that money into the ocean. Or why not use that money for like way better things, than keeping industrial civilization going as is? How about $4 billion to make sure that everybody in the country has homes? How about, $4 billion to make sure that everybody can grow their own food and create food co-ops? So, $4 billion to create, local, hyper-local community, small solar grid things so that people can get a little bit of energy, right? I know. You'll argue with me about that. That's fine. I'm just saying. You're just, whatever. But that's how it's going to go for a while. Well, we're going to have to beef up the infrastructure in order to mitigate climate change. All right. I don't know how you're going to mitigate this kind of stuff. Clearly, that was just a complete waste of $4 billion. What a tragedy, though. I mean, they just let all this stuff out into Lake Michigan. Awesome job, guys. Suburban leaders fielding complaints about standing water and basement backups. I read that. Several reminded their constituents that the Deep Tunnel, one of the nation's most expensive public works projects. I mean, this is going to be like, huge seawater walls that they're going to build around New York City, or pick another Miami, pick a city. where they're going to try to build these like, $10 billion seawater, walls to keep the seawater out. Oh, really? All right. Sure. At least it'll bring good paying jobs to the American people. Fighting climate change by building stupid $10 billion walls. Fighting climate change by building $4 billion tunnels that don't work. Several reminded the constituents that the Deep Tunnel, one of the nation's most expensive public works project, was designed to prevent flooding and reduce the amount of stomach-churning sewage and runoff gushing into basements and local waterways. They've been talking about the Deep Tunnel, and that it's not ready, and that even when it's completed, it still won't be enough, said Shapiro Wells, who watched water in her West suburban Cicero basement reach waist high within an hour. It's not going to be, that is messed up. Still not going to be sufficient to prevent this type of catastrophic disaster in the future, even if they finished it all today. Listen, construction on this began in 1975. Jesus Christ, how long was this thing going? 1975. When construction of the Deep Tunnel began in 1975, leaders of what then was called the Metropolitan Sanitary District vowed their subterranean labyrinth of tunnels alone would keep pollution out of the Chicago River and, in particular, Lake Michigan. Our changing climate is scrambling weather patterns, though. Recent storms suggest rain can now fall so quickly the stormwater tunnels can't move runoff to the reservoir fast enough to prevent sewage overflows and basement backups. In the 252 square miles of Chicago County served by the main part of the system. Mother Nature continues to be in the driver's seat, and the main issue is, you ready? The rain. Too much, too intense, and too frequent, said Marcelo Garcia, a University of Illinois hydrological engineer who studies in the Deep Tunnel. Studying the Deep Tunnel. Okay. You got to study it? I'm sorry. Y'all built this shit. You don't know how to run. You got to study the tunnel that somebody just built. God dang it. This is a whole article of stupid. But it's hilarious though. It's good for a, chuckle or three. I'm studying the Deep Tunnel. All right. Scientists are finding the world is warmer than it has been in thousands of years. They're finding it. They just found it. Scientists are finding. Whoa. You guys know what's happening? The world is warmer than it has been in thousands of years. And all of that hot air sucks moisture out of the plants and soil, fueling droughts and wildfires. Well, golly, didn't think of that. More moisture in the atmosphere also increases the amount of rain or snow that can fall during a particular storm. Essentially, we find that every storm is now being affected by climate change, says Don Woobles, an emeritus professor of atmospheric sciences at the University of Illinois, who was a science advisor to former President Barack Obama. In 2010, Woobles and other scientists hired by former Mayor Richard M. Daley concluded that rains of more than 2.5 inches a day, the amount that can trigger sewage dumping into Lake Michigan, were expected to increase by 50% by 2039. By the end of the century, the number of big storms could jump by a whopping 160%. Several monsoon-like storms in recent years highlight how challenging it is to manage stormwater in Chicago and the Cook County suburbs. Since 2008, district records show nearly 40 billion gallons of runoff and waste have been released into the lake, 3 times more than during the previous 2 decades. God dang it. So there's actually more runoff and waste that are being released into in the lake. So this is working perfectly. It's all working out fine. This mitigation is going great. All right, I can't read any more of this because I'm I can't deal with it. I can't deal with the stupidity of this. Scientists are finding that the world is warmer, though. So that's good. They're on the case. They're tracking it down. They're figuring it out. They're studying it. Just like Marcelo is studying the deep tunnel. Got to study it. Is it working? Doesn't seem like it's working. How's your studies going? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's working. Okay, thanks. Here's another budget. Jesus Christ. Hey, William, can we keep this I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to do this to you, but I got to keep it really short cuz I'm about to end the show. How you doing, William?
Can you hear me okay, Kev?
Yeah.
Okay. What should have happened years ago was
Oh,
going into the sewage treatment facility. Shit. I don't know what to do here. Maybe I'm not going to talk today. Can you hear me any better now or no?
yeah, that's better.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So what I was saying is the infrastructure should have been adapted a long time ago to separate the runoff from culverts, streets, whatever, into a separate sewage facility of sorts, a wastewater facility, from the black water, the poop.
Right.
See what I mean?
Right, sure.
Yeah. There'd be no rain cause of overflow of shit.
Yeah, why is it all going to the same place? Is a good question.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
The infrastructure money wasn't spent, not to mention all the mismanagement of fresh water. I mean, that's a whole nother matter. So, of course, it costs money to build another treatment plant. And, it's easier to, dilution is the solution, kill the fish. That's absolute insanity because the fisheries are a resource of income and food. I mean,
not to mention that people need, apparently Lake Michigan is the source of fresh drinking water for these people, for the folks in Chicago. And so now it's got a bunch of junk in it. So that's great. It just, the stupidity and mismanagement is mind boggling. And I don't even, obviously the best and the brightest are on this. They're on the case. They're doing it. They're figuring it out. They got it. They got it all figured out. It's wild though. It's wild how dumb that story is. Like it's amazing to me.
Well, what happens here is my degree's in resource economics from the University of Rhode Island. We would do a cost-benefit analysis study, and Professor Greg Lunas was head of the department, and he was part of the advisory committee to the president. And we come up with a study and a course of action, and then politics would get in the way. And even though the long-term cost-benefit analysis just on dollars, cost versus benefit, increased fisheries, increased ability for people to use the water resource for recreation, which would create tax revenue, revenue for local business. No matter what you calculate it in, are you following me?
Yeah.
Versus, you can build a study that says, man, it's worth it dollars and cents wise. Forget about the consciousness of things, just from the rear dollars and cents. And then the politics would get in and nothing would happen.
Right.
And I'm 62 now. I thought I could help change the world. Forget about it, man.
I don't know. It seems a little. It seems like a tall order, right? I don't. But maybe if people wake up and get, just get pissed off enough, something could happen. But we're in the middle of a, mass, I don't know what you would call it, but it's kind of like mass psychosis, I guess. Just a mass misinformation campaign on the American public that just screws people up enough to not ever be able to get together and decide like, hey, this is a good cause for us all to get, together about, right? No, it's just like, no, those people are wrong, and these people are ops, and these people are infiltrators, and these people are with the CIA, and these people are bad, and these people are dumb, and these people are stupid, and we can't ever just like get together and agree like, no, I think we should all actually, pitch in on this one. Oh.
Yeah,
or we can't vote, or we can't do anything, we can't change it. It's all the government's fault, but you can't change the government, and they're too powerful, and they have all the guns, so you just might as well just sit around and just wait for it all to collapse. And maybe that's the only recourse left to us. But I mean, it seems a little bit I don't know. Seems a little strange, the messaging, right?
Yeah, I don't have answers anymore. I took that degree because I thought I could do the work and make an impact, and I just saw it wasn't working. And you were right, of course, the Bay Campus, Narragansett Bay Campus, was all about fisheries management. How about that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Holy shit. And look what's happened. No matter what reports went to the feds and the Congress, it's all about short-term gain, you know,
You're
and
right.
long-term expense.
Yeah.
And
Basically,
yeah,
that's it. Hey,
right, brother. Thanks.
yeah, thanks for calling in, William. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right, you guys. I gotta go. I gotta take off. I will see you tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And until next time, peace.